Hey everybody, welcome back to the Lucky Paper YouTube channel. I got an exciting opportunity here. We're doing some playtesting of the Bun Magic Cube leading up to the CubeCon event this October. And I'm actually spectating a match because somebody had to duck out, so we got a bye. I'm taking the bye so I can watch this match go down between Huffer and the Oinkinator. We are spectating in Cockatrice, so we have full information of hands and whatnot. And I'm going to practice a little bit of coverage here. I can hear them talking in my headphones. It's not being recorded in the audio. I just want to make sure I can hear what's going on. Oinkinator here is playing a Lurrus deck, so we got Lurrus being revealed. And it looks like Huffer is on some sort of blue-red deck. Can't tell if it's more controlling or more tempo based on the opening hand, but... Alright, I should be able to hover over cards. Right, perfect. I can hover over cards so we can get some more information. So we got Lurrus as a companion. They are both keeping. Kind of an interesting keep here from Keldon, I guess, leaning on drawing that second land, because you don't really want to play an Urza Saga that you can't activate into. Let's see what happens here. If you have to, you can just run out your Saga and play a Bitter Blossom, but you really want to draw a second land so you can activate the Saga. Lightning Bolt going to be good here. Worst draw for Keldon possible. A white land. And we see the Blossom coming down. Now, blue-red, going to have a hard time dealing with a Resolve Bitter Blossom. Now, the question here is, does Oinkinator have a Skull Clamp to get with that Urza Saga to pair with the Bitter Blossom? That would be pretty spooky. Ooh, and we see a Kess. Kess is a... I'm laughing at them talking. I'm going to look at Crazy Person as I'm laughing at what I can hear them saying. Kess is a good card in this matchup, I think. We see a Heartless Act, and the Harvest Act will deal with it. So will Lethal Scheme. Snuff Out Vanishing Verse will not deal with it. Ooh. Vindicate, not the draw. So we are not going to get to activate the Urza Saga either times. And we also... Now, this is kind of interesting because Oinkinator's hand full of removal. It's almost looking like a Lurrus control deck. And over here, no creatures except for Kess, which is a late game creature. So interesting that the heavy removal deck will have a problem where a lot of its cards will be dead until its opponent plays threats for it. But a blue-red deck with this few... Ooh, Tossiger, nice. Looks like a full Grixis deck. A Grixis deck with this few threats might struggle if all of its threats get answered, which could be how this game plays out. We'll see. The race is on, though, with this Fairy Rogue token, and Bitter Blossom's going to start ticking up. Huffer's in the tank now. Guess deciding if they want to Thought Scour or Lightning Bolt. Just go hold that remand. Oh, I swear I'm not bored. I gotta drink some water. I'm not hydrating enough. Deathrite Shaman. Still not a land. Well, they do have Skull Clamp to get. This is quite a start. So Skull Clamping the Summoning Sick token here to draw 2 cards. I think Huffer now probably considering whether or not they want to just bolt that token, which will be more reasonable if you also had an answer for the other token. But yeah, going for it here. Going to make Oinkinator spend another mana and another creature if they want to draw those cards, which they will not do. Opting not to draw for that second land. I think we're rolling back to Deathrite Shaman being on the stack here, based on what Huffer's saying. It's like Oinkinator getting a little trigger happy here, assuming spells are going to resolve, but Remand seems really good here, given that Oinkinator does not have a land to follow up. Probably definitely wishing spent that mana clamping the fairy at this point. I wonder how many lands Oinkinator is running in their deck. Because now we have a lot of options for Huffer. We can see a Tosigur plus some other stuff. We can see a Kess. Probably not a Kess here, I would imagine, because you can't immediately get value off of it. You don't want to eat removal spell. We can see Bloodsky Berserker into Tosigur, which is maybe what I would do. Let's see what we see here. I guess you don't have 2 black. Sorry, you can't do Bloodsky Berserker into Tosigur. Ooh. Flipping a Blood Crypt and a Ragavan off that Thought Scour. This Spell Snare looking really good here against Oinkinator. I'm always impressed with Spell Snare in this cube, and it's this is no exception. All right, kind of the perfect draw here, but what do you do with this mana? Looks like we're going to see a Convoked Lethal Scheme. Pretty sick here. Get to connive twice with the fairy tokens. Double connive is going to be really good for finding future land drops, so I do like that play from Oinkinator. Probably pitch what? Vindicate here? Yeah, that's what I would do too. And then the second one, draw. Ooh. Probably one of these removal spells, right? You don't want to hold Snuff Out, Heartless Act, and Vanishing Verse. Probably. But then again, Retrofitter Foundry when you're kind of stuck on lands. Yeah, okay, they're choosing to pitch the Retrofitter Foundry. It's also going to make these fairies into 2/2s, which is very real. That puts Huffer on a 4-turn clock. More if they choose to use their Fiery Islet. We're going to get to see Kess here. The question is, will Huffer choose to hold up mana to try and protect Kess with a Spell Snare, which would be advisable, given that we know what Oinkinator is holding, or will they just go for Kess into Bolt for immediate value? A couple different options. They could also play Tosigur Flame Slash Hold Up Spell Snare. Or, yeah, Tosigur Flame Slash Hold Up Spell Snare, which is totally reasonable. They could even play Kess Tosigur. Looks like we're seeing the Kess coming down. Now, the question is, hold up Spell Snare or bolt something? Ooh, not what I expected. We're seeing an opt here instead. So, looks like expecting Kess to hold down the fort against the attackers in the air, and instead getting some value off of the opt. So now, Oinkinator gets to eat a little bit here. We get to Heartless Act the Kess, bash for 4, play Deathrite Shaman. Pretty good sequence. Or, you know, Heartless Act, bash for 4, maybe even eat the Fairy Rogue, draw 2. A lot of options. So Huffer falls to 10. Oinkinator's getting a swamp off that Verdant Catacombs, which implies to me they actually don't have a green source in the deck, like an Overgrown Tomb or something, for the Deathrite Shaman. So now, I mean, this is still not terrible, right? So now Huffer can Magma Jet, Flame Slash, Tossiger. Whoa, that seems like a really early scoop to me. I am kind of surprised to see that scoop so early. Definitely seemed like there were some outs there. Maybe just frustrated that they didn't have their Spell Snare up for that Heartless Act. But I thought there was plenty of outs to play to there, so I think it was kind of an early scoop. I've done that many times before, though. Sometimes you're just off a game and you don't want to play it. So we can't see our opponent's sideboarding. If I'm Oinkinator, I'm trying to take out some of my removal. I feel a little removal heavy against the deck I just saw, though we saw what I said could play out, right? In that you could have gotten rid of both fairies and played, I don't know, I mean, Tossiger against a 1/1 fairy seems like an okay spot to be. I mean, your Tossiger is going to get Vanishing Verse, which is a shame. No, because you could hold up Spell Snare too. Interesting. It's also like it's so hard to know what someone is thinking when they can't see all the information we can see. We obviously have an omniscient view of all the hands, which gives us a different perspective. We'll see what they do after they sideboard. We are doing some testing over here on the MTG Cube Talk Discord leading up to CubeCon. So if you want to be part of this testing process, you can join from anywhere the world over. Going to game 2, it looks like, and Huffer starting on Daze, Force of Will, Dragon's Rage, Channeler, Scalding Tarn, Bloodsky Berserker. That's a really good hand. And over here, Misery, Shadow, Lethal Scheme, Vanishing Verse, Swamp, Godless Shrine, Deathrite Shaman, Evolved Sleeper. Also got to be a keep, I'm sure. This game, we could see some fireworks here. I think Oinkinator is trying to figure out how to once again reveal their Lurrus, which is a challenge. Dragon's Rage Channeler, backed up by Daze, Force of Will. Pretty good. Yeah, no card draw unless there's another creature also attacking. Ragavan will not be that second creature for Glimmerlens. Sorry, I was just hopping into chat there to clarify a rules question in a different match regarding Glimmerlens and Karizev. Ooh. Snuff Out is a draw here. The question is, Deathrite Shaman gets dazed. Now an attempt to snuff out Dragon's Rage Channeler. First, don't forget to connive. Don't forget your surveil off of Daze, Huffer. Okay, I want to make sure. Just want to make sure. All right, so we saw Deathrite Shaman get dazed, and Huffer not willing to fight over Deathrite Shaman or over Dragon's Rage Channeler with I guess no blue spell to exile with Force of Will. Didn't have it. Okay, Fairy Mastermind though, pretty spicy. I wonder if Huffer had had the blue card in hand, if they would fight over that snuff out there with Force of Will. We see Misery's Shadow coming down here from Oinkinator. Solid mid-range card. I think Oinkinator is really making Lethal Scheme look pretty messed up here. Just looking at the hand here, next turn play Evolve Sleeper. If you hit a land drop, you can also just hold up Lethal Scheme. No land drop. And now Mother of Runes and Evolve Sleeper is probably the play, I would imagine. One of them likely gets remanded. First get in for 2 with the Misery Shadow, down to 13. Okay, the Evolve Sleeper is allowed to resolve. Here comes Mother of Runes. Is that going to get the remand, or are we going to see a Fairy Mastermind on end step? Okay, letting the Mother of Runes resolve. Interesting decision there without removal in hand for the Mother of Runes. I feel like the remand would have dug 1 deeper to find removal before the Mother of Runes untapped without Summoning Sickness, but Huffer opting to... Ooh, beautiful Magma Jet off the top. You love to see it. So it's a bummer now that you can't sequence Blood Sky Berserker into Magma Jet. If Magma Jet had been any 1 mana burn spell, it would have been much better. But nevertheless, you got to get Mother of Runes off the battlefield while you can, I think. Which I think we're seeing Huffer agree right now. Yep, great. Now we do have Force of Will up, pitching Remand, which, based on what is in Oinkinator's hand, I don't see that being worth it. Like, I don't think you pitch Remand to Force to protect Fairy Mastermind from a... I mean, maybe from exactly a Lethal Scheme, just because the double Connive is pretty devastating. I'd be surprised, though. I think we'll just see the Mastermind go down. The next turn, you can play a Blood Sky Berserker protected by either Remand or Force of Will. Already a very small game here in terms of resources. You know, players are at 12 and 13 life, 3 and 3 cards in hand, only 3 lands in play each. Do we see the Lethal... Retrofitter Foundry? Yeah, we can do Retrofitter into Lethal Scheme if we want. Or just hold up Lethal Scheme. It's an instant, so you can let your opponent play their turn, and you can also hold up even activating Evolve Sleeper. I like to put it on the stack when I play with Companion. I'm not sure if that's useful to you, but I just throw it in that little red zone. Oh, sure. Pretty easy swing for 3, I think, here. You're winning this race pretty quickly if you are Oinkinator. The way this game is shaking out is it's been a very fair sort of resource exchanging 1-for-1 game, but Oinkinator is going to have Lurrus to draw into here, which Huffer is not going to have. So if you're Huffer, you really want to see a really good card draw spell. I happen to know for a fact they don't have Treasure Cruise or Expressive Iteration, because I have both. Ooh, Expressive Iteration, Boulder Rush the Knight, but that's going to get countered. Oh, maybe we're not going for the Boulder Rush. Oh, here it comes. Okay, now we kick. There's no mana up for Lethal Scheme here because we're tapped out of our black creatures, so we can Vanishing Verse, though, which I think is what we need to do. Kind of devastating here because it's also going to counter the Rimrock Knight, which is not going to go on an adventure. So I think we're going to see the Force. Yeah, here we go. We're fighting over it. So we got 1 Lethal Scheme. we put Lurrus into our hand right now, maybe? Like turn Evolved Sleeper into a 2/2, put Lurrus into our hand? Or, because I mean, I guess you have to Lethal Scheme the Blood Sky Berserker, right? Or you just keep racing? Because you can pump the Misery Shadow, and you can pump the Evolved Sleeper. Okay, just swinging with Shadow here. Threatening potentially 7 damage, it's worth noting. The 1 generic mana to give +1/+1 is kind of nuts. I'm sorry, 6 damage. No blocks from Huffer. Are we going to see any activations here? No, we're not. Just 2 damage. Can't put Lurrus into your hand and hold up Lethal Scheme, which is a bummer. But you can hold up Lethal Scheme and activating Evolved Sleeper, or put Lurrus into your hand and also activate Evolved Sleeper. Island off the top is not what Huffer wanted to see. Would have done anything for some action there. Though, could play Island and then activate Mastermind, which is kind of sick. I expect we'll probably see the Rimrock Knight come down instead. Evolved Sleeper is not actually back to block is the thing, because Bloodsky Berserker could potentially have Menace if a second spell is cast, and the Fire Mastermind has Flying. So Evolved Sleeper is really back so that there is a creature to convoke the Lethal Scheme with. I think the question here is, can Huffer... And Huffer did not play the... Did Huffer not play the Island? Oh no, this is still Huffer's turn. I'm sorry, I'm getting so confused. So Huffer is deciding now whether to play the Island and hold it Fairy Mastermind, or play the Rimrock Knight, or cycle... You could cycle through the Fiery Islet, and then potentially hit another spell that costs 1 mana, and you could play the Rimrock Knight and the spell, which would make the Bloodsky Berserker into a 5/5, which very nearly threatens lethal, which is pretty spooky. Also, I think if you are Huffer, you're probably not going to want to tap that Fiery Islet for mana anytime soon, given how tight this race is. All right, we see the island come down. We see the Fire Islet getting cycled. Ugh, into another land. That's rough. Not what Huffer wanted to see. See, the thing is, you could have... Another line could have been just playing the island, hold up activation of the Mastermind, and that would allow him next turn to almost certainly double spell, because you could just see enough more cards that you have the Rimrock Knight up. Now, the thing is, the Evolved Sleeper right now can threaten becoming a 2/2 with Death Touch, which is probably what Oinkinator would do, I imagine, in this spot if the Bloodsky Berserker comes in alone. I think the look here is just attack with the Mastermind, if anything. Oh no, we see him coming in with the Bloodsky Berserker. So now Oinkinator has the choice of just trade with the Evolved Sleeper by leveling it up, or just make a servo and chump with it, which is what he can also do, or make a servo and Lethal Scheme, conniving with both the Sleeper and the servo token. Pretty darn good. This is basically just milling here because you're Lethal Scheming on an empty hand, but look at what it did to that board. Lethal Scheme has been looking really disgusting in the hands of Oinkinator here. And Huffer is just going to scoop it up there. That's the match. Lurrus did not end up actually being a factor, but Lethal Scheme really was a problem. Interesting matches. I think Huffer definitely conceded that first game a little early, and the second game, there were a lot of decisions there. I'm not sure what I would have done in his seat, but definitely some places to make different decisions. Thanks for tuning in. I'll get more videos coming up of our playtesting with Magic Cube. Join us in the Magic MTG Cube Talk Discord if you want to hang out and play with us. All right. See you later.